Councilman Stokes and call number 6 first.
Sure. I don't know why he's here.
We'll find out.
They're not supposed to be here. Who is it?
Right.
Are we ready, Mr. Page?
I think so, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City proceedings will begin. The board is now in session. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, preliminary matter on the AM docket, case number 7, 3741 Wabash Avenue, has been postponed. We're going to call case number 6 on the AM docket as the first case, 108-10 South Broadway. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 1650-54 East Pratt Street to 108-10 South Broadway. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Yes, good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of applicant.
All right, would all those who are going to testify please raise their right hands?
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Fogelman?
Yes, good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant. This is a project to be named Broadway Bar and Grill. It's the license for La Rumba, which is a block away. It is replacing the, quite frankly, creepy former adult theater at 108 to 110 South Broadway. The applicant currently runs a small shop that has been doing very, very good sandwich business, deli business. And the owner wants to put $400,000 into the building. The building was in horrible shape and wants to invest in this corner and would desire a beer, wine, and liquor license in order to do so.
When was the last time that that theater was in operation?
That theater was sold in 2012, I believe. Yeah. Okay. In 2012, and has been out of operation since that time.
So it's been vacant?
It has.
Okay.
So, just yesterday, I received a letter, I was at the liquor board, received a letter of opposition from the Upper Fells Point Improvement Association indicating, first there was a letter of protest that said, we don't want any more liquor stores. We don't want any more bars in our neighborhood. And I would just remind you that this would be a net zero on liquor licenses because it, in fact, is La Rumba's license from just up the street. Like I said, I have menus here and some other exhibits for you. But with respect to the issue of the school, this has not been a school for at least 5 years. The statute clearly states that 300 feet applies to a church or school, not church or school-owned property.
Who owns the property?
The property currently, and this is very interesting, there is no use and occupancy certificate for the property that was Freedom Academy. The only use certificate that zoning was able to provide me this morning was something that shows from the 70s that it was for a store for secondhand clothing. That's the only UNO that the city has, the only use it's ever granted to that property. However, there is a certificate of use and occupancy for 100 South Caroline Street, which is City Springs Elementary. So getting back to that, the Board of Education has a liquor store right across from it. It's school-owned property, but it's certainly not a school. And then that begs the question is how many years have to pass from a school closing before development is allowed in? If, in fact, which we deny, we have not seen any evidence of the use of that property with students or children, and obviously we've been looking at this for about 24 hours since we got the letter from Upper Fells.
Oh, what letter you're referring to?
I have it. There's a letter from
don't think I
UFPIA dated yesterday.
I don't think we have that
Oh,
letter.
okay.
Yeah, so I
I'm
don't know
not going
what
to
you're
enter
talking
into
about.
evidence, but I'm sure somebody else will. In any event, if it is being temporarily used, it's mentioned nowhere online. My clients have seen no evidence thereof, or they would have never even purchased the license. I mean, and this is, it's just what liquor lawyers do. We say, are you within 300 feet of a church or school? The liquor board itself didn't consider it to be within 300 feet of a church or school when they took the application and they did their preliminary investigation. I think it's a specious argument designed to kill this particular investment at this time.
We go there. Can you tell us about this operation?
Absolutely. It's to be operated as Broadway Bar and Grill. With over $100,000 in kitchen equipment coming in. They have a proposed menu. And as I say, they currently serve food at this establishment,
At which establishment?
at 108 to 110 South Broadway, which is an operating business.
Thank you.
And when you say they, you're referring to whom?
I'm referring to the applicant and his partner.
At Mr. Anta?
Yes, and he's to my far right.
And he has a business partner?
Yes, and his name is, and why don't you spell that for the court reporter, please?
You got to go over to the microphone.
Prabhneet.
Brabhneet.
Last name Maini. Maini.
Hey, what's the last name?
Maini. Maini.
M-A-I-N-I. Okay. Thank you, sir.
And so last night, I ran the addresses of that was used by Freedom Academy and the address that is used by City Springs Elementary. And it clearly shows a tale of two different properties.
So you're not going to tell us any more about this?
Oh, I will. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've got my exhibits in an order, and so I'll
So they're operating this and serving food now, and they want a liquor license. Is that what you're
that's
saying?
correct.
Okay. And they've been there how long?
They've been there for open for,
Almost 5 years.
Okay.
and what they've found is that there is desire, is that they tell me they have over 100 customers who have said, it'd be great if I could get a beer here with my sandwich and if I could eat. Okay, I'm going to get to you in a minute, okay? Thanks. Okay, so that was the genesis of this idea,
And
was
who would manage the alcohol?
the alcohol would be managed by the applicant and the manager.
And do they have any experience with alcohol?
That I'm not quite sure. Mr. Anta has, let me just go here. Yeah, Mr. Anta has been involved as the manager at a licensed establishment in the past. Mr. Gianendra is his last name. He is also a recovering alcoholic who's been sober for years, and he takes alcohol and its use and consumption very seriously.
Are they alcohol certified?
No, but they will be next Monday. They have an appointment.
And who else will work there on handling alcohol?
At this time, they're still going to have to develop this. They're going to have to close, reopen, so they have not hired. They do not have any other employees
It
at
would
this
be,
time.
they'd have to close for renovations?
Yes,
For what period of time?
2-3 months tops for kitchen equipment and some other demo work.
Okay. And the legal obstacle, as you see it, is this objection that's been raised about the school being within 300?
Right.
Okay. I assume that's why everybody's here?
Correct.
Okay. So
So,
you want to finish?
If I may, yes, thank you. So, I just heard about this yesterday. This was news to me. My daughter attends a Baltimore Curriculum Project school, and I think they are great schools, and I think City Springs is a great school. I don't think Freedom Academy qualifies as a school under any definition.
How far away is the elementary school?
The elementary school is 0.2 miles. It's almost, according to Google, it's almost 1,000 feet away. City Springs is. And in fact, when Freedom Academy was open, its doors were at 101 South Caroline, which were also 1,000 feet away from this establishment.
And that, I'm told, was a high school?
Yes, a middle and high school, I think.
And how long has that been closed?
According to Baltimore City Schools website, since 2013, 6 years ago. And
Do you have anything further on that issue?
Sure. And first of all, and I apologize because I was getting the documents ready for the first two hearings on the docket, which I had. According to Wikipedia, Baltimore Freedom Academy closed in 2013, so I'd like to introduce that into evidence. And furthermore, I have a printout from Baltimore City Public Schools, or a list of Baltimore City Public Schools, and Freedom Academy is obviously not mentioned therein. Furthermore, I have a printout from Baltimore City Public Schools showing City Springs Elementary Middle School talking about the school using the 100 South Carolina address. They've got 2 pages of information about their school, and nowhere do they mention that they're using a gym or that they're having any activity at Freedom Academy or that they have expanded into Freedom Academy at all. And that's directly from BCPS website. And I'm sorry, I only have 1 copy of that. And I'd like to introduce the menu. Did I already introduce the menu?
You did.
And if I could get one to be put into evidence? Thank you.
These documents will be received. Anything further?
Yeah, I'd just like to, yes, thank you. I'd like to state that that the building, you know, it was sat vacant for a couple of years. And,
What building?
I'm sorry, the current establishment, 108 to 110 South
the
Broadway.
theater.
Right. The city could have bought it. Anyone else could have stepped up and bought it. And he instead, you know, he invested in the property. And I don't want you to forget the longtime use of the building, and I do want to put those photos into evidence of this.
Jack, what's the relevance of what the property was before the current person operated it?
Well, I think that, if I may, I think the argument here is that this is going to be a blight on the neighborhood. And my argument is this is going to be a significant improvement to the neighborhood.
We haven't heard that argument, but you can.
Thank you. These are from City Paper from 2013. And then finally, I have a internationally known blog called Barstool Sports, which did an article on the decrepitness of the property. And therein they say,
And when was that?
and that was posted on 10/14/2013, and they say it's basically the worst place outside of Pittsburgh. And my point here
There's,
is that this is not going to be La Rumba, and this sure isn't going to be the Apex Theater. Now, I do not. Sorry.
Same objection to this. The relevance of what it was prior to the convenience store is irrelevant. Just because it's going to be better than something that it was 10 years ago isn't relevant to what it is today.
well, it may or may not be. We'll see.
Thank you. And then further, so as I continue to argue, this is a major improvement over La Rumba. This is a major improvement over the Apex. There are some other issues that were raised in some letters, some correspondence that went into the file. The biggest one was loitering. And I will admit, if you've driven Lombard Street to go to downtown and you pass the 7-Eleven on your left, it's maybe the most embarrassing intersection in all of Southeast Baltimore. You see 100 people hanging out all day out in front of that 7-Eleven. My client is prepared to hire exterior security to disperse and discourage these crowds. Unfortunately, the Baltimore City Police Department has effectively abdicated the prosecution of loitering or the administration of loitering prevention due to the consent decree. So my client's here to hire security to make the neighborhood better in that regard. So, or it can remain underdeveloped if that's what you know everybody wants. I know that residents want improvement in that neighborhood. Unlike Harbor East or Lower Broadway, change comes incrementally in many neighborhoods in Baltimore, and this project is certainly an improvement on Broadway. I thank you very much.
Okay, and you are?
My name is Chris Medeo. I'm the president of the Washington Hill Community Association. This property is within our bounds. Sure. Last name M-A-D-A-I-O.
I'm sorry. Yes, Mr.
All right.
Madeo.
So the community opposes this transfer. The neighboring community, the Upper Fells Community Association, opposes this transfer. I don't have a paper copy of their letter. I would like to enter it into evidence. You have a paper copy with
Yeah,
you.
I'm declining to do that, though.
Won't give me the paper
No, I
copy.
will not.
All right.
Well, I don't think it's his burden to prove your case.
No, not at all. I was asking as a courtesy if he would hand me what he has, but that's all right. I have it with me, and I'll just read it, if that's all right, if the board will hear me. This is from Dear Chairman and Commissioners, and I'll just tell you, it's from M. Gershberg, Secretary, Upper Fells Improvement Association, and it says, the Upper...
I know you're going to go into it, but what are the major points of opposition?
Sure, absolutely. Number one, it's within 300 feet of a school, and I'll be happy to argue why it is, and why that school is in use. And then number two, this property does, the factors for transfer are not met. There's no public need or desire for the license. There is a significant number of existing licenses already on this block. The impact of this license on health, safety, and welfare of the community would be very damaging, and there are other factors that I would introduce regarding the history of the business in the sixth, I guess, factor.
Okay.
So just a kind of preliminary, I wanted to note that the general community opposition from Washington Hill, which I'm here to speak on behalf for, and Upper Fells, this letter says, the Upper Fells Point Community Association considered the transfer the license located at 1654 East Pratt to 110 South Broadway during its March 19, 2019 membership meeting. The membership supports the Washington Hill Community Association in opposing this transfer. There is the additional issue that 110 South Broadway is located within 300 feet of a school. City Springs Elementary Middle School operates out of two buildings. Their main building is at 100 South Caroline Street, but their pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, and first graders are located in the Lombard Building at 1601 East Lombard Street. The gym is 120 feet from the 110 South Broadway building. Therefore, the transfer would violate zoning law, which prohibits alcohol outlets within 300 feet of a school. Then there's a map with a line showing that it's within 300 feet. It says, please enter this letter into the permanent record for this location. Respectfully, M. Gershberg, Secretary, Upper Fells Point Community Association, CC President at upperfellspoint.org. Okay.
So is there anyone here from the school system?
No. I spoke to them this morning, but they were not able to attend. So here, and I also spoke to Mr. Akris last night, and I believe Mr. Akris has spoken to the principal of the school. So, I would represent with evidence that I will kind of give, and then I'd ask if Mr. Akris would support that he had a similar conversation with the school principal. The school building at the Freedom Academy, the property that Mr. Fogelman mentioned, is in use by City Springs Elementary School. They do use it for their kindergarten and first graders, and they also use a playground that is in the back of the school, but within the school's fencing, so it's within the school's property on the same block, right behind the building, so even closer to the school. So they use the building. Now, they don't use the entire building. So, and I think what the principal communicated to Mr. Akris was that the part of the building that's literally 300 feet from the establishment, they do not use. But there's no wall. I mean, it's one building. They use the space, because they're not using the entire building, they use the space closest to their establishment. So, but they still use the building. And they certainly they use the playground, which goes all the way back to South Bethel Street. I would enter this into evidence. This is a little map here. So unfortunately,
And there's no partition within the building, right?
None that I know of, no. Copy for you. So the black lines are 300 feet. So the first one in the top points to City Springs Park. I'm not saying, as far as I know, that is not owned by City Springs School. The line on the bottom points directly to Baltimore Freedom Academy. So my point is that building in the far corner, I understand not to be in use. So I want to be fair about that. However, right below, it's very faint, but there's a box that the line is in. Right below that box is currently a playground that the school students use. And then, of course, if you go a little more to the left, within the Freedom Academy, that's the portion of the building that the students do use. That is what I spoke to their principal, Dr. Rochetta, today, and I understand that she told similarly to Mr. Akris. So based on that, It is a school. They don't use every single building or every single corner of every single room, but I'm sure every school doesn't use every single corner of every single room at every single minute of the day. So the building's in use. The statute has a clear purpose in order to keep liquor establishments away from schools, and this one would abut, basically. Its rear would be right on the other side of a very small alley, this South Bethel Street, which is like maybe 8 feet wide, if that. It's not barely a road. And that's where the liquor establishment would abut. So that's
We
what.
have a lot of people who want to testify, so do you have anything further?
Well, I have a lot further, but I'd be happy to let everyone else testify, and then I can go at the end.
Well, I don't know.
Nothing further on that point.
Okay, but let's do cross. What do you
Thank
have
you
on?
very much. Sir, you're president of what organization?
Washington Hill Community
All right,
Association.
have you say that you are here to represent the Upper Fells Point Improvement Association? I thought you had said that, but okay, so you're not here, you don't have power of attorney, or you're not here for them at all?
No.
Okay, so you've admitted that there's no school instruction occurring within 300 feet of this property, right?
That is what I have learned to my
All
understanding.
right, now, how many people, how many residents live in the Washington Hill zone that your organization is the community association thereof?
I don't have that number off the top
But
of my head.
it's 1,000? You're the
don't know.
president, and you don't know how many people live in your neighborhood?
I don't have the exact number, and I don't want to misspeak.
Well, how about a ballpark?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, but it's fair to say that it's quite a few people, and a lot more people than the people who are active in the Washington Hill Association. Isn't that right?
I think that's that way for every community. But
And in fact, there are a lot of new Americans in your neighborhood. Isn't that right?
we have a diverse population
Yes.
in the community.
And what percentage of your association is made up of new Americans?
I don't know that.
Okay. So would it not surprise you that the customers at 108 to 110 South Broadway are mostly Latino Americans?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. And that they have expressed desire for an establishment where they can get food and have a beer? Would that surprise you?
It's not in evidence.
But
so
you're not saying you're representing all the people who live in Washington Hill, are you?
I'm saying I represent the community association.
Okay, but you will agree with me that there are far more residents in Washington Hill than there are members of your community association. Isn't that a fact?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's if you'll step back for a minute. Councilman, did you have something you want?
Yes, thank you. First, I want to say good morning to the chairman and the board.
Morning.
Actually, this is in my district, the 12th district, and I just want to read the letter, but I also want to mention that we just won a HUD grant for $30 million to redo City Springs School, and it's actually going to be a $60 million project, and we're looking at what surrounds that area, and I don't think this kind of license would be in the best interest of our young people who got to walk to school and see that actually in the neighborhood. So I just want to read the letter that I have here. Dear Chairman, I'm writing you to express my support for the Washington Hill Association's opposition to transfer of ownership and location of Class BD license beer, wine, liquor license currently held by the owner, located at 1650 to 54 East Pratt Street to 10810 South Broadway. It's my understanding that the owners never approached the Washington Hill community about their plans to change from a convenience store to a tavern and sell packaged goods. There are 7 or more liquor stores in Washington Hill, and another is viewed as detrimental to health and safety. Washington Hill has worked tirelessly to uplift the community and improve the quality of life of all residents. I believe allowing the transfer of ownership and location will be a huge setback and would seriously undermine the association's efforts to date. I urge the board to deny this application. I also want to mention that I'm working with Washington Hill on some development plans in that area, and with the HUD grant, $60 million, and actually in that media area, it's an $800 million project that is getting ready to come to the media area with Perkins and the school and the swimming pool on Baltimore and Caroline Street that's going to be redone by Rec and Park. So I think the liquor license is not a good match for what's happening in that community, so I urge put this on the record also.
Okay, thank you. Do you have questions for
Yes,
the
very
councilman?
briefly, Councilman, good to see you. So you're concerned here today about the impact on the future school, isn't that right?
Not just the school, but the community.
Right, but you've referenced the school coming in the future that will want to use that property. Isn't that
And I
right?
mentioned the community too, let's say both.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not trying to divorce those two. I'm just saying that you're talking about a grant and a future school. right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And have you had a chance to read Councilwoman Shannon Sneed's letter to the board of yesterday?
No, I haven't, but it's actually not in Councilwoman
I
Sneed's
understand.
district. It's in mine.
Okay. All right. Would it surprise you that she uses the word future school in her letter?
Well, it's in my district. I know when I had to go advocate to make sure we get the money through the TIF to make sure we can redo a $60 million school at City Springs.
And both of you are experienced legislators, right? As city
Yes.
council people. Okay. And so you know that the way to limit development or to plan development is through legislation, such as a planned unit development. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
All right. And so there is no PUD for this neighborhood, is there?
I just mentioned that I'm working with.
Working on, but
Okay.
there's no PUD signed by the mayor in full force and effective law
But there-
as of today, right?
Right, but they're in the process of putting a plan together, and I don't think putting a liquor store to sell license in an area that all the development is getting ready to happen, and our young people see enough of liquor stores and trauma when they go to school.
All right. And do you think there's enough places to eat, to sit down and have a bite to eat in that corridor?
Absolutely.
Oh, you want to name some for me?
I don't know. I
100?
ride down there. You should know
7-Eleven?
that.
Do you eat at 7-Eleven?
No, I do not.
All right.
But that's not the issue. The issue is the liquor license, not the food. We talking about selling alcohol, and our young people got to walk through there, and we building a world-class school, a world-class neighborhood, and then somebody want to come and put a liquor license in front of that.
Right. Now, you know the Atlas Restaurant Group, right? Ouzo Bay, all those wonderful restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they open restaurants without a liquor license?
No, they do not.
Do you know many places? Do you know? I mean, do you think the majority of places in the city open a restaurant without a liquor license?
No, but I've seen places that open with a liquor license is not confined to the community after they get
Sure.
the liquor license.
Absolutely.
They always say they're going to get some security, they're going to do this and do that, and after they get in there, it all changes, and then you got to get an MOU from them, and then they change it to another owner, and then the MOU is absolutely don't mean nothing.
Would you agree with me that the loitering situation at the corner of Broadway and Lombard is a terrible eyesore for your district?
Actually, they're understanding from that. That's people that are looking for employment.
Okay.
They wait for the van to pick them up so they can get some work.
But-
so that's not
but
just
you would
what
agree
you see what it is.
You would agree with me that pretty much any time you drive by there, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., there are dozens of people loitering out front. Isn't that right?
Looking for work.
Yeah, but so what you're saying, if the van comes and takes some, then more people come in.
Bogman, we're getting way
Okay,
beyond the scope
okay.
of the direct examination.
Wouldn't private security help the loitering situation at Lombard and Broadway?
I don't know. I've heard that before from people when they open up a liquor business. They always tell me get private security. It's the same old story. I mean, everybody use it now.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you,
Good to see
Councilman. This gentleman.
My name is Gabriel Stewart Sikowitz. I'll put all that. I'm representing STU-SIK-OWITZ. I'm here representing Councilwoman Shannon Sneed. She apologizes that she couldn't be here. She's dealing with family matters at the moment.
You have something other than what she said in her letter?
Yes, I have a letter from the Washington Hill Mutual Homes. It's a collectively owned, member-owned group of houses in her district. They're writing a letter to oppose. I believe it's it's a form letter. It's already been.
Now, where is her district?
Her district is on the other side of Broadway, as well as another form letter that is one of the members
What
of
is the Washington Hill Mutual Homes?
The Washington Hill Mutual Homes is a group of row homes that are along Broadway, along Fairmount, that are owned collectively by the members. It's basically a co-op, but they all own, they collectively own it. They collectively make decisions about what to do, when to do repairs, what they want to see in their community.
Board of Directors opposes this.
Correct, as well as some of the membership as well.
Okay. Anything else?
She would also just like to reiterate the issues before. There are plenty of places to eat in the area. There are plenty of places to buy liquor. There's no reason to have a place where you can take liquor out. Another place to have that.
Okay. Did you have questions?
Very brief. Mr. Sikowitz, Sakowitz, sorry. You draft legislation, right?
Yeah, with the support of legislative reference.
Sure, of course. And in that regard, there is no planned unit development in this neighborhood at this time, is there?
Correct.
Okay. And there's no legislation, no specific zoning legislation like we have for the square in Canton, or we have for Cross Street Market, or we have for many wards and precincts in Fells Point. There's no legislation on this, isn't there?
Not to my knowledge.
Right. And so, would you agree that you're looking forward to a future school near that location?
Correct.
Okay. And that school is still in Choate, isn't that right?
Could you define Choate?
Oh, in Choate. I mean, it's not born yet. It's nothing but an idea at this time, isn't that right?
Well, it's part of as to my understanding, it's part of the choice grant that we got to redevelop Perkins Homes and a good portion of East Baltimore. So I don't know if it's just an idea or not.
But that's right. But it's not a law.
Oh, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And further, Washington Hill Mutual Homes Incorporated is not one of the recognized community associations in the city of Baltimore. Isn't that right?
I'm not sure what the city.
Washington Hill is. Upper Fells Point Improvement Association is, but is it your understanding that they are recognized by the city of Baltimore?
I don't know when the city recognizes community associations and when they don't.
Okay.
Well, because new ones form,
Sure.
But I don't.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Officers?
Good morning, sir. Brian Hopkins, Captain Southeast District. I'm not going to repeat a lot of it. I'm just going to go over the police department side of it. So far this year, within that particular block, we received 104 calls of service, 147 last year. With that said, the young man right here has already said that they would kind of assist with that area in the police department with their deployments. Yet to date, we've received no calls from that particular location to help us disperse some of the community complaints as far as the loitering and vagrancy in that particular area. So, not to repeat what everybody is saying, that's just the biggest concern right now. They've been there for quite some time, and we've had, I guess in the past 2 years, nearly 250 calls of service, and no one from that establishment has reached out. So the community just wants everybody to realize that it's an already strained area, and anything by opening this particular establishment is going to continue to cause more strain.
Thank you, Captain. Did you have a
Thank you, Captain. Yeah, it's fair to say that most of the loitering occurs in front of the 7-Eleven. Isn't that right?
This is the entire block, sir.
I understand, but I'm asking you, because I drive by that area almost every day, and I know you must. So isn't it a fact that the loitering is concentrated towards the corner of Lombard and Broadway and in front of the 7-Eleven?
No, sir, and as the council member said, there's not a lot of loitering. They're there for job services, and also there's a not recreational facility, rehabilitation center in the block, and they're going to and from that location. So not particularly everybody there is actually causing loitering.
Let's get rid of the term loitering. How about hanging out? Isn't it fair to say there's a ton of people hanging out there all day, every day?
If they're there for job services or treatment of
Simple
the
yes or no
rehabilitation
question.
center. It's not a
Simple
yes
yes
or
or
no
no.
question.
Yes, it is. Are there people hanging out in front of the 7-Eleven? Is the sky blue?
So several folks are waiting for a doctor's office, and there's 5 or 10. Is that hanging out, and is that loitering, or are they waiting for their treatment and services?
You guys are supposed to be the loitering experts. But anyhow, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, sir.
Do the other officers have something to add? Okay. And Mr. Akris, you wanted to be sworn briefly?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thomas Akris, Deputy Executive Secretary, Liquor Board, Baltimore City. I'll be brief. At issue is Alcoholic Beverages Article 12-1605A1I, and it states, except as otherwise provided in this subsection, a new license may not be issued for, and an existing license may not be moved to, a building that is within 300 feet of the nearest point of the building of a place of worship or school. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners, when receiving this application, conducted a posting report. That posting report was performed by Inspector Andy Perez, who's present on my left. At the time of the posting report, there was a question as to the building behind the location, which is approximately 110 feet from the applicant's desired location to move the license. Inspector Perez went out there yesterday to confirm exactly what the usage of that building is. If that building is connected to a school that is in operation, then movement of that license to that location would be a violation of the alcoholic beverages article. So I've asked Inspector Perez to be present to testify as to
Were
what
you
he found
sworn,
out yesterday.
Inspector?
Yes, I was.
May I briefly?
Why don't we hear them from
Okay,
both,
sure,
then you
sure.
Uh,
can question, okay?
And Perez, Baltimore City Liquor Board. In fact, the building in question is connected to the school. As far as whether it's an operation as a school, I don't have those details.
All right, and so Inspector Perez, you don't have a copy of a certificate of use and occupancy for that address showing its lawful use as a school, isn't that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and in fact, would it surprise you that there's no such use and occupancy certificate that's ever been issued for that school, for that building to operate as a school?
Not familiar
Okay,
with the building.
and you're aware that the liquor board won't even accept applications until you have a use and occupancy permit applied for a bar, isn't that right?
Correct.
All right, and yet, no one here can show me a use and occupancy certificate even permitting that property to operate as a school, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have questions for Ms.
No, that was really the same question.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything further?
Yes, I want to put into evidence the only zoning document for the property that operated as Freedom Academy at 101 South Caroline Street. I was just handed this by zoning before this hearing, and it shows, and it's the old form, which means it's from an old card file system, which means it's from the 1970s, and it shows use as a secondhand clothing. Well, it's the only thing. I'm making a representation that zoning says that is the only thing we have for that address.
I object to this document.
Is it? It doesn't carry a lot of weight because it doesn't say anything.
Well, it's hard to prove a negative, Your Honor. You know that. And if there is no UNO,
But
I
this
can't
really-
give you a UNO.
I mean, all it says is that at 101 South Caroline Street, there was a secondhand clothing place, maybe because some card says it, that says zoning on it, but
All right, but as you can see from the documents I submitted to you, City Springs Freedom Academy used the address 101 South Caroline, and City Springs uses the address 100 South Caroline.
yeah, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just telling you that's all it says.
I have a brief question for Mr. Akras.
Okay.
Mr. Akras, you spoke to the principal of City Springs School.
I did.
Is it true that she told you that they are using part of that school for their students?
What she stated to me yesterday was that she was actually unaware of how much they use that building for the City Springs students. And she would get back to me to verify as to the usage of that location. And as of today, she has not gotten back to me.
But she did say that she uses some part of that location.
She said that she uses a part, but that was, she would get back to me on how they use it, what they use it for.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Objection. We don't have people testifying by telephone.
Principal of City Springs School on the
In the years I have
Can
been
we
here.
use, I have the principal on the phone, and she can answer that she used that particular part of the school, if that's all right, Mr.
I
Chair.
don't know. Who is she?
Ms.
Can
Rhonda,
she identify herself?
Okay. Ms. Rhonda?
Yes.
Can,
What is your name, ma'am? What is your name, ma'am? Ms. Riquetta, what is your position?
Well, I need the spelling, I guess, right?
It's Richettata.
Can we Skype her?
So there are questions for you.
Phone back, 'cause see those microphones on the top of the dais? Those are what's picking
Okay,
up the phone.
okay.
Not right next to it, but just
Okay.
in that proximity. I'm sorry.
So did you have questions for her?
No, I wanted her to tell what part of the school she actually used.
Well, that's a question. Okay, so what part of the school do you use?
So we use, it's a low level, it's the entrance to the part that we use is at 1601 East Pratt Street. And, so it's like the whole corner of the building, and then we also use the upper level playground area that runs all across that 1600 block of Pratt Street to Bethel.
Okay. Anything further? Did you have
Sure.
questions
Yes,
for her?
please. Ms. Riquetta? Yep. How long has that been going on?
I think this is the
So is it your testimony that students come out on the Pratt Street side or on the Lombard Street side?
Yeah, they come out on the Pratt Street. There's an entrance on the Pratt Street side.
On the Pratt Street side. And are you aware that there is no use and occupancy permit permitting a school at the former Freedom Academy location on file with the city of Baltimore?
So we're not using the former Freedom Academy location. We're using the former, it was called the Alternative School. There were always two schools in that building, Freedom Academy, and then there was the Middle Alternative School. I think it was, I can't remember the official name of that school, but they moved it, and we moved it to that part.
And if you know, it is the Freedom Academy building that is 120 feet behind this establishment at 108 South Broadway. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And not the alternative school property, which you're saying is a separate school that is.
She didn't say that.
It's a separate school, but it's not a separate building.
But you would agree with me that Freedom Academy closed in 2013, right?
I don't know the exact year that they closed.
But you would agree it's several years ago.
It was several years ago.
Okay. And when did the alternative school close?
The alternative school didn't close,
It moved.
the alternative school moved in that summer, and then we moved in right after they moved out. So, we were making plans to move in there for the next school year while they were there in the last school year that they were there. And I would have to look it up, but it was either, we'd either been 3 school years or this might be our 4th school year that we've been there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So anything further?
Yes. Nothing further on that point. A few other points. So let's see. As far as this location, I have, let's see, some additional members of there's a letter from Ms. Magdalena Fitzsimmons opposing the transfer I'd like to put in the record. You have that one. Okay, very good. I have a letter signed by the manager of the 7-Eleven located at 100 South Broadway. He opposes the transfer. I'd like to put that in the record, please. I have a picture of the establishment. Of the current state of the establishment. I'd like to put that in the record, please. I have a copy for each of you. Sorry. That's the Mutual Homes letter there. That's the 7-Eleven letter there. Here's 3 copies of the current picture of the establishment. Obviously, you can note by seeing it, the current establishment has boarded up windows, graffiti on the front. Let's see. Now, as you can see, I think there was an updated map of other liquor licenses in the area. I think especially on this block is what we wanted to point out. So Mr. Akers let me know that that was in the file because the map that was originally in there was missing a liquor store on Broadway and Baltimore Street, which is 1 block to the north. So there's one packaged goods store there. There's another packaged goods store on Pratt Street, just 1 block to the east. And then there are multiple establishments on the block, as you can see from the map, including Arizona Bar and Grill right across the street, Rio Bravo Liquor right across the street, Arco's RB right across the street, and El Salvador Restaurant right across the street. And I would note all 4 of those are cater to new Americans, and obviously our community welcomes them, and we think establishments that cater to new Americans are a good thing, and there's many of those already right on this block. So the density of establishments literally right on this block. I mean, I understand that La Rumba had this license before, but that was a block south. And I mean, block to block, things can change pretty quickly. So this block has a lot of licenses already. It's literally on the other side of Lombard Street from a rehab facility, Powell Recovery Center. So their clients often, of course, stay on the street during breaks or whatever it may be. And however you want to define it, that's a fine thing. But another establishment, especially one that will offer takeaway, a BD7, is something that's not going to be appropriate for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. I would, of course, note that lots of establishments, if they want to serve hot food, which it sounds like this business does not right now, it's only a convenience store. If they do want to serve hot food, they open as a cafe and they serve hot food. Canella in our district, right a block away, and Tondov are two establishments that opened without a liquor license, gained the support of the community, and then I know Canella now has a liquor license, and the community supported that. So the community supports liquor licenses when they're appropriate for the area and when there's responsible owners. I have a few other items. I would note that this establishment is currently, the property that is currently sued by the city of Baltimore for injunctive relief related to violations. It's going to the character of both the ownership and the establishment.
I haven't had a chance to review the litigation, so I don't know. But you can put whatever you want. We've got a full docket, so let's move along.
Yep. So this is an injunction for taking down for chat violations. It's a long-standing injunction. Injunction for a long-standing violation related to that have been since 2016 and 2014. And these are the original violation notices that I'd put in the record.
Complaint. Do you have the injunction?
Well, it's a complaint for injunction. Excuse me. The injunction hasn't been granted yet. I think they have a trial next week. So. Sorry for the misstatement. These are the two violations related to the complaint for the injunction. Goes to for taking down the marquee and putting up an awning, and again that goes to the relationship to following rules of the city. I would add that Wayguru, which is the business that is attempting to obtain the license, has been sued for failure to pay its vendors.
Objection, relevance. District Court $8,000 suit. I mean, this goes
to the character of the business operation. If they currently aren't paying their bills and they currently do anything, how are they expected to put in $400,000?
Argue, they'll be received.
Okay, very good.
Anything else?
Yes. Let's see. There's also a water bill that hasn't been paid since June of 2018. An outstanding balance of $2,637. Put that into evidence, further showing the character of the ownership and the establishment. I also have.
Here you are.
Excuse me. Here we go.
Sure.
I did print out the 911 calls for this block, and since June 10th of 2016, which is when this Wayguru was incorporated, there have been, let's see, have a gap here, 2,982 calls for service for the 100 block of South Broadway. There's a copy for you. And I also, that is when I pulled out automobile-related calls. So these are only, there's no automobile accidents, nothing like that in that approximately or almost 3,000 calls for 911. I would note that the plan that was submitted for the establishment, and of course, obviously, the applicant didn't come to the community association to explain the plan, what they were doing, why they wanted to do it, what they were going to serve. The plan, if you could see it on the application, it had the, let's see, if I could pull it, direct your attention, please. The floor plan, it appears, first I would note the doors on the wide side of the building, and this is a very long, narrow building. As you can see from the picture, the door's on the front. So this plan is basically impossible to achieve. So I'm not sure who created this plan, why it was created, or if the building's actually going to look like this. But based truly on that fact, it's essentially impossible that the buildings in the inside is going to look like this. I would also ask where the packaged goods will be sold. There's no, as a BD7, there's no indication of where packaged goods will be sold here. So it appears that that's some sort of either a misstatement to the board or is just a kind of placeholder for a plan that's never actually going to happen.
Okay, can we wrap this up?
Yes, of course. One last thing, I have an article showing the relationship between alcohol and crime in the area. It goes to the health, wealth, and safety factor. An increase in licenses directs an increase in crime. And then I put this last point in as far as the floor plan. When I did a reverse Google search, I basically found a website for a business plan for a pizza shop, and it shows this exact floor plan that was submitted with the application. So,
Will you stop putting these on top of my notes? It's okay if we put them here, but
All right.
these are my notes.
all right, I'm just trying to hand you the papers. I'm sorry. All right. And that's copies of that website I found showing that this floor plan was basically plucked off the internet without, I mean, there's been no testimony to how it was created, but clearly it wasn't created by a professional specifically for this establishment.
Do you have cross?
More responses than Cross. I mean, he's made
Argument, okay.
quite a few assertions here without evidence that deserve to be addressed. The first of which is, where are they going to sell their alcohol? Over the bar, as most BD7s do. And there's clearly a bar identified there. The idea of district court lawsuits do not go to the character of a licensee. Licensees, if that were the case, then any time a licensee was delinquent on his state sales tax, we'd pull their license forever because they had bad character. In a business, people get sued and people sue. It happens. You know that. I don't really. It's clear that this gentleman doesn't want this to look better. It's clear that he doesn't want anyone to put $375,000 into this building. And that's effectively what's going to happen without a restaurant that can serve beer, wine, and liquor. I continue to believe, if you look at the letter from Councilwoman Sneed and others, that they're talking about a future school. They want to preserve this property for future development. And that is not okay unless you do it through legislation, which has not been done. So they're coming in basically in a time machine from the future and saying, oh, don't let that be that, because we're going to do something much better with that someday when we get the money and someday when we get around to it. And the idea that the alternative school is being used and not the Freedom Academy, to me, is an important distinction and takes the bar far from 300 feet from the church or school. Like I said, there is still no evidence of any legal use by that property as a school, and I think that's significant here. I also think that it's significant that not a single person came in and said, my kid goes to that school. And that would be heart-wrenching testimony. Say, my kid goes there every day, and I don't want a restaurant with a liquor license 150 feet away from him. Not a single parent. You would think that the school itself would have come out here in force, but they're not. And all we have is some associated hearsay. And that's why I think it's a specious argument, and I think it's done to destroy the possible redevelopment of this site at this time by a willing investor. And so, like I say, if this is what you want, this is what you can have. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
Questions?
Okay. So we have an application to transfer the ownership of the BD7 license from the East Pratt Street to the Broadway property. We've got significant opposition. We have evidence that while it's not clear to me that it violates the 300-foot rule, because it appears that the entrance that's being used is over on Pratt Street. It's fairly proximate to the place where they want to have the license. There's a great deal of opposition based on the public need, public desire for the license to be in this place, the impact that it would have on the community, and challenges to the plan for the place in the first place. I'm not prepared to vote to support the transfer.
I concur. I don't. I vote not to transfer the license and location.
So I think there's an extra bar when you transfer ownership and location, and so in this case, I would concur with my colleagues. I think the public need and desire has been has been expressed in terms of opposition by the Washington Hill Community Association, Washington Hill Mutual Homes, council members, and we heard some comment from the police department. There are 11 license holders close in location to this applicant. And then in terms of the impact of the license on the welfare of the community, we heard testimony about concern by the community, but also in connection with the proximity to the school. Although it's not clear to me if it's 300 feet, it is clear to me that it's attached to a building that is. And so for those reasons, I too would concur in denying the application of transfer of ownership and location.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Community Exhibit 1, Google Map printout of area. Community Exhibit 2, letter of opposition from Councilman Stokes. 3, letter of opposition from members of Washington Hill Mutual Homes. 4, letter from manager of 7-Eleven in opposition. 5, photos of establishment. 6, package in reference to violations for property. 7, article dated November 2018. 8, police call record. 9, business plan printout. Board Exhibit 1, letter of opposition from Councilman Sneed dated 3/20/2019. 2, letter of opposition from Washington Hill Community Association dated 3/2019. 3, letter of opposition from residents. 4, map of area. Applicant Exhibit 1, menu. Applicant Exhibit 2, Wikipedia printout for Baltimore Freedom Academy. Applicant Exhibit 3, Baltimore City, City Springs / Middle Elementary information page. Applicant Exhibit 4, photos from city paper and article. Applicant Exhibit 5, use permit for 101 South Broadway.
Mr. Page?
We're going to go back in order. Case number 1 on the AM docket, Angeli's Pizza, 413 South High Street. This is the Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. An application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license under provisions of Article 12-1604, small c, number 2, small I, requiring $700,000 in capital investment facilities, 65% food sales, and seating capacity for a minimum of 150 people. This is a request for delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
Good morning. Good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicants.
Good morning. Would you folks raise your right hands, please?
Swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
The place suddenly feels empty. Okay. And maybe that's a good thing.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about the oversized clip. I ran out of regular size clips. And I do not have what you have been just served there, so I'm not sure what that is, but if it's just positive to our case, it'd be great to know.
Here, I'll give you a copy.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, me
so I
either.
haven't
We
had a
just
chance to
received
read
it,
it.
yeah.
No problem.
What you review.
You can keep it.
Okay, this is something from February.
Okay, so you have a breakdown of the expenditures. Is that what this?
I do. Ms. Mutlu and Mr. Ozturk, $776,000 in investment in this property. They always had to make that investment regardless to get the property up to code. The problem was that they were a block away from. They're in a special precinct that requires not only $700,000 in capital investment, but also requires seating of 150 individuals. And initially, they were only going to use the first floor of the establishment and put in enough seats so that they could open as a restaurant. Luckily for them, they have a second floor. And so they have redesigned the second floor and put tables and chairs in there as well. Now, they just had their grand opening yesterday. The place looks fantastic. It's come a long way. You'll see it.
Prior, was there something else there?
Many things. Pacific Coast was the last one, and it's been. It was, and it's been several things. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. Mr. Ozturk, do you remember all the different incarnations?
That's all right. I was just curious with.
So where they are, and then they did very brisk business yesterday, it's hard to say if they're going to have 150 people in a pizza restaurant at any one time in Baltimore. However, they have the extra space. Exactly. That's a problem they all want to have. They have the extra space, and they're going to use it for private events and the like until they do fill it with walk-in customers. So the law doesn't say you have to have 150 people in your restaurant to get the license. It just says you have to have the capacity.
Are they going to be handling the alcohol?
They are, indeed. Mr. Ozturk has significant experience in alcohol management, and he's kind of got a neat history when it comes to that. For example, he was the manager of Babylon Cafe in New York City with a full bar that was open till 6 a.m. He did that job for several years. His first job in the United States was at a pizza place in Virginia Beach back in 2009, and it was like the American dream. He's making pizzas, and so he's always wanted a pizzeria as a result. But by way of a circuitous route, he opened Bosporus at 5716 York Road about 6 years ago. And what he found out, like some of my clients find out, is that it can have a young crowd up there closer to Towson. And so what he had was two different crowds. The day crowd were residents and neighbors, but at night it became a very young, the crowd just simply became young. He had a situation where...
I should go there.
It'll take 10 years off your life. That's right. So he had a situation where liquor inspectors came in and several students were in possession of fake IDs.
This is at Bosporus.
This is at Bosporus, his former location, or his former license. And Judge Ward, who was pretty famous for being pretty tough on punishment, I think we can agree, he gave him a 2-week suspension in 2014. After that, and this is horrible, but he had 15 break-ins in 3 years, in the first 3 years he was there. And in 2016, he had just come to work and found that they'd been broken into again. And in walks a cadet, and he served the cadet. He was having a terrible day.
Part of your argument in support of this?
It's part of my transparency, full transparency. And the point is, he's had no violations since then. In fact, he reports to me that he picked Little Italy because it isn't a place that attracts a younger crowd, and that's what he's looking to do. And so he's here today, and all he can say is that I'm getting better, is that I have learned. And part of that is learning where to run your business.
So how many people are going to work there?
Excuse me?
How many people will work there?
At the moment, we have 7 people.
7?
Yeah.
And how many of them would be handling alcohol?
2 of them.
And that's the 2 of you?
3 of them, one more person with
Okay,
us.
and will they all be alcohol certified?
They are going to have it as soon as we have the bar.
Okay. And you understand our rules and regulations?
I do.
And both of them also have an appointment on Monday for alcohol training.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Anything further? Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, testimony received, I would vote to approve the application for the new Class B license.
I concur for the same reasons and vote to approve the application for a new Class B license.
I concur and would approve the new Class B license with the request to deliver alcoholic beverages as well.
Good luck, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Fogelman.
We
Might cause
would love
Mr.
to see that too. And next time, I'm going to take the conversation. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, email from Giovanna Blatterman dated 2/15/2019. Board Exhibit, licensee Exhibit 1, business plan.
Pico Ramen, 7 East 33rd Street. This is a Class B, beer, wine, and liquor license. An application for a new Class B, beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license under provisions of Article 12-1603, C1, small I, requiring $200,000 in capital investments, fixtures and facilities, and a seating capacity for a minimum of 75 people. Please come forward.
I recognize her. Thank you very much. Stephen Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant, David Forster.
Good morning. Would the rest of you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
All right, and Mr. Forster hasn't murdered anyone in 5 years. He's getting better every year. Thank you. First exhibit is an MOU. It's music to ears, usually. Mr. Forster is Peko Peko Ramen. It's an excellent concept. It's been well received in the community. It's been supported by the Charles Village Civic Association, and they support the addition of a liquor license to the establishment. I'm going to hand you that letter along with an updated floor plan, a menu, some reviews, and photos.
Okay, and he's willing to have the terms of the MOU be restriction on the license?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. And finally, this is all paid for. His contractor's application for payment and the itemization of the work done.
And what's the amount?
$371,000, I believe.
And it seats over 75?
Yeah, oh no, I've got 481,000. He's only required. Yes, it seats 82. We have 82 seats. I think the floor plan.
Mr. Fogelman, let's get the number right here.
Yeah.
So, because this is important, we have an original contract sum of $461.99, but I also see total completed to date at $321, $329.20. Can you provide some testimony about how much has been spent on this project, the investment?
That invoice is simply just not the final invoice. It's dated, must be 3 years old at this stage.
Okay. So
everything's been paid off on that.
And the law only requires 200,000.
Right, but I'm trying to get the exact number on the record.
The total was 400 plus kitchen equipment.
Okay, thank you.
And he's supported here today by Sandy Sparks, who has been at the Liquor Board many, many times, and Brendan Dorr, who is a well-known community person and has been involved in lots of great restaurants in the past, and Miss Emma Snyder, who is a long-term neighbor and business owner of a bookshop in the neighborhood. They're here to support the request.
I'm sorry, did I ask that question? Who's going to handle the alcohol?
That's
you are. Okay, and you're alcohol certified?
I have an appointment on Monday.
Okay.
Big business.
Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from counsel, testimony received, and the evidence, including the memorandum of understanding, I would vote to approve the new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license subject to the terms of the agreement to the extent they're enforceable by law.
I concur for the same reasons, and I vote to approve the new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license subject to the terms of the MOU to the extent it is enforceable by law.
I, too, vote to approve the application for a new Class B license, subject to the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding to the extent it's permitted by law.
Good luck. Thank you.
Good luck.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, letter of support from Charles Village Civic Association dated 3/18/2019. Board Exhibit number 2, MOU. Applicant Exhibit 1, business plan. Applicant Exhibit 2, investment invoice. Thank you.
The Boiler Room Restaurant, 1 North Haven Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. An application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license under provisions of Article 12-903, small c, number 2, small I, requiring $500,000 in capital investment, 51% of food sales, and seating capacity of 75, but not more than 150 individuals. A request for live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering. Please come forward.
Good morning. For the record, Justin Williams, the law firm Rosenberg Martin Greenberg, on behalf of the applicant, Dave Seibert.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand, sir, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Williams?
With your consent, to get out before the Villanova and I guess UVA game, we'll proceed by way of brief proffer. If you have any questions, help ask the
I was a little worried about that at the first case, whether we were going to get out. It starts,
UVA
tip-off is at 7:30.
Maryland's at, yeah, it's at Maryland's. It's at 3. I'm here at the...
Your docket better fly by.
I didn't put my picture in yet. So included on the exhibits I handed to you, aerial photo showing licensed premises. It's 1 North Haven Street in the Baltimore Highlands / Crescent community. Mr. Seibert did a great job redeveloping the facility. It dates back to pre-World War I, actually before the city annexed Baltimore County, and it was used to do wood veneers, and then during World War I it switched to doing defense industry work. And since that time, I fell into disrepair, but Mr. Seibert put in $15 million worth of investment in the community, and there's a little picture before and after of both sites in the facility, showing the remarkable improvement over there. And it's really been dramatic. And now it's been referred to as Highland Forge. A lot of great tenants there. The board might recall the Urban Axes. You granted a liquor license for them, and no injuries or anything is going on there. Also has Monument City Brewing, the Emerging Technology Center, Haven Street Ballrooms, a lot of great innovative uses up there to revitalize this part of the community. I've included in exhibits an article on the BBJ talking about the restaurant, the Boiler Room restaurant. It was really intended by Mr. Seibert to serve the office and, I guess, commercial uses in the facility. There's not much other restaurant activity in this part of the Highlandtown Crescent area. The board's report showed there was 1 Class B licensed premises in the vicinity that was a catering facility, I think. So there's nothing else for people, patrons, and guests to go to. So this is Mr. Seibert's intention, and then hopefully as the community and residential development grows this direction, they'll be able to enjoy a meal here as well. I included the floor plan in the exhibit. There'll be outdoor seating and live entertainment proposed. Outdoor seating would be in front of the restaurant. That would have about 40 to 50 people in front. The day-to-day operations will be run by Chef Brian Suchik. He was formerly of Woodbury Kitchen and Mama's in the Half Shell. Mr. Seibert's familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board. He hasn't had a license previously, but as a landlord, he obviously has interest in making sure operations are run smoothly.
And how many people can be seated here?
148 seats, as shown in the floor plan.
And you have an investment that exceeds the $500,000?
Yeah, so for the restaurant alone, $800,000 of investment, and on top of the $15 million investment for the whole facility.
So this had it was called King Cork and Seal?
That's part of our development, yes. It's a large development we
There
did.
used to be a thing called Crown Cork and Seal.
Well, no, that is King. That's an historical sited building, actually, we did there.
So it's Crown related?
No, no.
Interesting, okay.
When is it supposed to open?
June 1st.
And what is the nature of the live entertainment?
So far, Mr. Seibert's sort of envisioning something to serve the happy hour crowd, because right now there's not much business anticipated early for the dinner time crowd, so a band or DJ, and then as time progresses, I guess we'll reevaluate, but the outdoor seating area, the courtyard areas, the back, so there will be no one to be disturbed by any live entertainment or activity, and it's next to the brewery, so there'll be some synergy there, we think, and no disturbance on the community.
You have other questions, Commissioners?
No other questions.
No other questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, the proffers from council, testimony received, and the exhibits received, I would vote to approve the new Class B beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license with live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering.
I concur and vote to approve the application for a new Class B beer, wine, and liquor with live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering.
I concur and would vote to approve for the new Class B license with live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering. Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, Business Plan.
Uno Pizzeria and Grill, Harbor Place, 201 East Pratt Street, Suite 108. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership with continuation of outdoor table service. Please come forward.
Morning.
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 Is it still morning?
It is.
Just barely.
5 minutes.
I, again, implore Mr. Akers to get you at the top of the agenda. You always seem to be at the bottom.
We enjoyed the show this
About halfway
morning.
through.
Thank you.
So you want to identify yourself for the record, please?
Ann Schreckengoss with Royston, Muller, McLean, and Reed here on behalf of the applicants.
Good morning. Would the gentleman raise their right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
So we have,
We have a transfer of ownership at the Pizzeria Uno, or Uno Chicago Grill, that's located at in the Pratt Street Pavilion. The operation is not changing as a result of this license transfer. Mr. Amir Yazdi, the gentleman to my immediate right, is the managing member of MV Pizza LLC, which will be operating this location. Martha White is an existing licensee and is going to continue on. Unfortunately, she could not be here today. She's got the flu. Again, staff is not changing hands. Mr. Filati, here to my far right, is the general manager there. He's been there for how many years, Mr. Filati? 5 years.
Name, sir?
Amir Fuladi.
How do you spell last name?
Sure, is F as in Frank, O-U-L-A-D as in David, I.
Thank you.
There are 38 employees that work at this location, 24 of whom are in the alcohol portion of the business. All of these servers go through a proprietary in-house alcohol awareness training upon hiring, and all the servers and bartenders, managers and bartenders go through the ServSafe alcohol awareness program. So there's always somebody on duty who's alcohol awareness certified. They have a carding policy where they don't card anyone who looks under the age of 40. They don't accept vertical IDs. And their hours of operation are Monday through Thursday from 11 to 11, Friday and Saturday from 11 to midnight, and Sunday from 11 to 10.
and who held the license before?
It was the corporate. It's now a franchise location, so it was held by the corporate entity SL Uno, Inner Harbor.
And they're purchasing, the LLC's purchasing the
Correct.
license, okay.
Mr. Yazzie has purchased 7 Uno's locations, 5 in Virginia, 3 here in Maryland. And so they're now all franchised.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the application and the proffers from counsel and any testimony received, I vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
I concur and vote to approve the transfer of ownership with continuation of outdoor table service.
I vote to approve the transfer of ownership with continuation of outdoor table service.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have you been? Were they nice to you?
Pardon?
I said, have you been? Was he nice to you? You've been good.
We're still on the record.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Any exhibits?
No exhibits.
Six 25-27 North Duncan Street. This is a Class D Beer, Wine, and Liquor License, an application to transfer ownership, requesting delivery of alcoholic beverages. Please come forward.
Counsel.
Attorney Abraham Hurdle on behalf of 627 Duncan Restaurant LLC. With me is Miss Wilson and her son.
Would you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes.
I do.
Mr. Hurdle.
If I may proffer, Ms. Wilson has been a city resident for quite some time. Her son, who has over 20 years of experience in the hospitality and restaurant industry, will be helping her run this, as she has no, I believe you've been a licensee before, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And what's
So
your
she's
name,
got
sir?
some experience.
Rodney Wilson?
Brown.
Brown, okay. Thank you.
B-R-W-N. B-R-W-N. So she's got some experience in the past. Her son's going to help her as well. This is going to be a standard tavern over on Duncan Street. It's an existing location, existing license, not moving it anywhere interesting. And I believe that in terms of renovations, if any, it'll just be more of a freshening over as opposed to any sort of kind of wholesale changes. The business will continue to operate on the first and second floor with storage in the basement. There's no outdoor table service, no live entertainment, and at this time, no off-premises catering.
And who will be handling the alcohol? Mr. Brown. And are you alcohol certified? Yes, sir. Okay.
Any other staff members handling that?
Anyone else who's handling it will be certified as well.
And how many employees?
As of moment, 2.
2.
Okay. You and someone else? Okay. Do you have other questions?
No other
No
questions.
questions.
Okay, thank you. On the
This time
basis,
I'd ask the board,
That's all right.
I'd ask the board to approve the transfer.
on the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the testimony received and the proffers from counsel, I'd vote to approve the transfer of ownership with delivery of alcoholic beverages.
I concur and vote to approve the transfer of ownership with delivery of alcoholic beverages.
I too vote to approve the transfer of ownership with the delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. Move
Thank
excused.
you.
No
Yes.
exhibits. I can see. I sent it to you.
Serenity Wine Bar, 1121-23 Hall Street. This is a Class D beer and wine license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant.
Good afternoon. Would you folks raise your right hands, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good afternoon. Ms. Nika Bilal is a first-time applicant for a liquor license anywhere. She has extensive experience in the restaurant business, having worked for Pizza Hut for many, many years, almost 2 decades, right? 23 years, yeah. And she has managed alcohol in that capacity. Her dream is a wine bar with food, and that's exactly what she intends to open. She got a small business administration loan and has signed a lease for the property at 1121-23 Hall Street, which used to be called Our House when it was in operation in Locust Point. Mr. Gerald is the city resident. He is not present today. Mr. Daniel McAtee is to my right. He is the owner of the property. He is also a licensee at Hall Street Blues in Locust Point, just a block away from Ms. Bilal's future establishment. So not a lot of details here. do you have a proposed menu for me?
I do.
You do, okay.
And I brought some
Great.
pictures of the inside.
How much work needs to be done or will be done?
Painting, cleaning up, that's about it.
How many employees will you have, ma'am?
About 5, 6.
And who will handle the alcohol?
I will. And I also have a manager.
you.
So both of us are tip certified, yes.
Okay, thank you.
When do you think it will open?
Hopefully early May, if everything goes through.
Thank you. This is the current.
Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
Did you have any questions? No questions?
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Then, on the basis of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits received, testimony received, and proffers from council, I'd vote to approve the transfer.
I concur and vote to approve the transfer.
Based on your experience and the evidence in front of us, I too would vote to approve the transfer.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll forward it to you.
Any exhibits?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Give me 1 second. Applicant Exhibit 1, menu. Applicant Exhibit 2, 3 photos. Thank you.
South Point of Port Covington LLC, trading as South Point, 101 West Cromwell Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership and location of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license presently located at 2201 Gulf Street to 101 West Cromwell Street, requesting live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering. Please come forward.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg, on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by my colleague, Justin Williams, as well as the 2 individual licensee applicants, Mr. Watkins and Mr. Martinez, who are here to my right.
Would you gentlemen raise your right hands, please?
Swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ms. Hecker?
With your permission, I'll proceed by way of a proffer. We'll try to keep this brief. I know the board's been here for a while this morning. This is an application to transfer ownership of a BD7 license from 2201 Goff Street to 101 West Cromwell Street in Port Covington. The license premises is part of the Port Covington Master Plan area. I've handed out a folder with some exhibits that I'll walk through briefly. The first thing that you'll see in the file is an aerial photo showing the proposed license premises. It's across Hanover Street from Chapter 1 of the Port Covington development, which is going to start construction this spring. It's located right on the waterfront, and the concept started actually last summer as sort of loosely modeled off of Sandlot and Harbor Point, an outdoor, family-friendly, pet-friendly event space, gathering space, really designed to get people excited about Port Covington and get people sort of used to the idea of coming to a part of town that many of them would never otherwise think to go to. There's an article in the file that you'll see from the BBJ from last summer about the sort of temporary seasonal operation that they started last spring. Last year, they were open Thursday to Saturdays. They had food trucks out there. And to the extent they served any alcoholic beverages, it was done pursuant to a special event permit. They partnered with a variety of nonprofits, including Believe in Music, the Youth Resiliency Institute, the Ullman Cancer Foundation, and Mission Fit, which is a community fitness center in Hamden. They have done a lot of great work with a lot of these nonprofits, and now they really want to expand to a more permanent outdoor facility to create excitement about Port Covington and really bring people down to this area. So their new operations starting this spring will be open Wednesday to Sunday. They'll have a new tent, which will give the facility more of a permanent feeling. Food will be operated through food trucks. They'll have a dog park, courts and fields for rec volleyball and kickball. And then they'll have a series of trailers out of which food and beverages will be sold on the site. You'll see in the file there are some photographs from last summer's operation. What they're proposing is a slightly expanded version of this. And you will see in the file a plan showing an area outlined in blue, which would be the entire licensed premises, which you'll see includes the whole area. They are proposing to have live entertainment, which is permitted by right in the PC3 zoning districts. It'll probably be a rotation of local DJs and bands. They are proposing to be open 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Friday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Mr. Martinez, who is here today, will be the general manager. He and Mr. Watkins were both involved in the operation last year, and Mr. Martinez is going to be responsible for running the day-to-day operations. Mr. Watkins will oversee marketing and the facility side of things. Mr. Martinez has been TIP certified in the past. He will become recertified as part of this operation. Their policy will be to card everyone who appears to be under 35 years of age, and all of their managers will complete the alcoholic beverages safety training course. They have engaged Wolf Security to provide security for the facility. They will have staff at entrances and exits to make sure people aren't walking off with their alcoholic beverages. And in total, this represents a capital investment of approximately $1.4 million and will create about 50 full and part-time jobs. Both of our individual licensee applicants are city residents, and they are both authorized individuals of South Point of Port Covington, LLC. As I mentioned, Mr. Martinez has been TIP certified in the past. He will get recertified for this project. And he has over a decade of experience in the food and beverage industry, including serving as the Director of Hospitality and Operations for the Cordish Companies. Mr. Watkins is the Director of Marketing for Weller Development, and he was intricately involved in the operation of South Point last summer. They both are familiar with the rules and regulations of the City Liquor Board and agreed to abide by them. With regard to the criteria that the board is required to consider in approving the transfer of the license, there is a public need and desire for the license. This is a really unique waterfront experience. Last summer it was very well received. There really aren't any other significant licenses in the area to contend with. The only other licensed premises down there are Nick's and Rice Street Tavern.
Where is this in relation to that?
This is slightly west of that. If you were to zoom out on the licensed premises, you would see Nick's over here. Oh, and in fact, here we go. We've got this is the first exhibit in the file. This is the edge of the Nick's parking lot.
Okay, and where's Rice Street?
Rice Street is a little bit, it's I guess further afield, but further east, west? Sorry, I'm upside down, west from where we are.
I'm pretty challenged by these things.
Yes. It is, yeah, okay, thank you. I'm not going crazy. It is further east. So they're in the vicinity. They're the only licensed premises that are down there in Port Covington right now. But what we'd like to do is create a district where people want to come. They'll come down, have a happy hour drink on the waterfront, and then go over to one of the restaurants for dinner.
Does the Sunpaper facility provide customers to? Aren't they right across the road?
They are right across the road. They will provide customers, but they aren't open to taking in.
I was just curious. I mean, it looks like a very large operation over there.
All of their employees there, so they're up over 800 now.
So that further demonstrates the public need and desire for this license, I believe. It does provide also a uniqueness of services. The sort of one-of-a-kind waterfront facilities is really unique, and there is really not going to be any significant impact on public health, safety, or welfare. There really is no residential community down there yet. We hope one day there will be. We think one day there will be. But right now, there's really no impact on a surrounding community. So for those reasons, we would request that the board approve the transfer of the license to this location, and both Mr. Martinez and Mr. Watkins are available to answer any further questions you might have.
Commissioners?
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Hecker. That is very comprehensive. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits received, testimony received, and proffer from council, I would vote to approve the transfer of the ownership and location Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license from Goff Street to this Cromwell Street location with live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premises catering.
I concur for the same reasons and vote to approve the application to transfer ownership and location of this Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor with live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering.
I too concur in the transfer of ownership and location of this BD7 license with live entertainment, outdoor table service, and off-premise catering.
Best of luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Medical exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, business plan.
Mr. Page, I think that's our morning docket.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until 1 p.m.?
Yes. Something like that, yeah.
Okay, or shortly thereafter. Thank you.
Is that place going to succeed?
Which?
I think it will.
Mr. Page, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Now begins the PM session of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. There being no preliminary matters on the PM docket. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, case number 1, Roland Park Place, Inc., trading as Roland Park Place, 830 West 40th Street. This is a Class B CCRC beer, wine, and liquor license, an application for a new Class B continuing care retirement community license under provisions of Article 12-1001-1, which require the location to be within the 41st Legislative District, have a certificate of registration from the Department of Aging, and this is a request for live entertainment as well as outdoor table service. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg. On behalf of the applicant, I'm joined by my colleague Justin Williams. We also have with us our folks from Roland Park Place. We have on the end Teresa Snyder, we have Jennifer Peoples, and Rebecca Bees, who are our 3 licensee applicants. We also have Reginald Stevens, who's the Director of Dining Services.
May I ask you folks to raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ms. Hecker, they passed a statute just for you.
Yes, they did. This is a new license based on new legislation that was enacted last year in the legislative session to create a special class of license for a continuing care retirement community like Roland Park Place. We needed special legislation because a regular Class B restaurant license wouldn't be appropriate for this type of facility because it's not open to the public. This is a license for the residents and their guests and not for the general public to come in and enjoy. Roland Park Place has an 8-acre campus in Roland Park. They're opposite the Rotunda. It is actually the only full-service accredited nonprofit continuing care retirement community in Baltimore City. Mr. Williams has handed out a folder full of exhibits. You'll see in that file there's an aerial image showing the campus right now. There is an expansion plan, which I'll talk a little bit about, and it will result in a new building being constructed on the site. They have been in business here since 1984. They offer metropolitan senior living and, as I said, it's a continuing care retirement community, which means that it offers a continuum of care from independent living to assisted living to skilled nursing care. It is accredited by the Continuing Care Accreditation Commission, which is like the gold standard seal of approval for the best in the industry. It is also ranked on U.S. News and World Report's list of best nursing homes in the country, and there's a copy of the U.S. News and World Report website in your file as well. Right now, the facility is about 340,000 square feet in size. They have 258 employees, and they are home to approximately 270 residents who live in a variety of types of units. There are 154 independent living apartments, 41 residential care or assisted living units, and 71 private nursing rooms. In addition, Roland Park Place provides a variety of amenities on their campus, including a fitness center, banking, a beauty salon, and a boutique. They also have multiple dining venues available to residents and their guests. They have a formal sit-down dining service as well as a more casual cafe-style place. But one amenity that is not currently available to them is alcoholic beverage services. In anticipation of the retirement of the baby boomer generation, they are planning an expansion right now.
Is ours the first generation to drink alcohol?
I was going to make a comment about my parents, but I'm going to stop there. It is not, but I think that with the increase that they are expecting in interest in this type of living facility, they would like to be able to offer alcoholic beverage service as an amenity in their facility. They're underway right now in a $30 million renovation to their existing building. They're constructing a new arts and education center, a theater, and they're reconfiguring their healthcare suites to accommodate 3 specialty areas of care: memory care, long-term care, and short-stay rehab. In connection with the larger expansion project, they also, as I said, are constructing a new actual new building that will have 58 new independent living units, as well as a parking garage and a club room and a salon. There's an article in the file from the BBJ, or I'm sorry, excuse me, it's from the Baltimore Sun that talks about their proposed expansion plan. We went through a lengthy public engagement process in connection with that. We amended their PUD. It went through the city council. We did probably a year and a half's worth of meetings with the surrounding Roland Park neighborhood and the Roldan neighborhood. And this expansion plan is the culmination of those efforts. So, as I mentioned, in last year's legislative session, they enacted House Bill 245 to create the new continuing care retirement community license. There's a copy of that in the file, as well as the fiscal and policy note, which indicates that this is the only facility that legislation will apply to. We are proposing to have the entire facility, except for the independent or the residential living units, the nursing units, the medical units, all of the common areas of the facility are going to be included in our licensed premises. You'll see in the file there are some floor plans showing the various areas that will include. We have a total of 300 seats in our dining area. We have 64 seats that are outside in the interior courtyard area. There's also, you'll see in the file, a copy of a sample menu for the more formal dining room. And we are proposing also to offer alcoholic beverage services in the Arts and Education Center, in the club room. There's going to be a pub area that's planned to be included as well, and in the theater space as well. So we are proposing to offer live entertainment. It's an amenity to our residents and their guests, as opposed to being generally open to the public. It's primarily theatrical performances, musical acts, lectures, that type of thing. And then, one interesting thing under the alcoholic beverage legislation is that it allows the consumption of alcoholic beverages that are not purchased on site, that are brought by the residents. Currently, Roland Park Place allows their residents to bring, for instance, a bottle of wine down to the dining room and enjoy their own bottle of wine. This legislation would not preclude them from doing that. It would allow that as well. But they could, if they wanted to, purchase a bottle of wine or a glass of wine or a cocktail or beer or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Can we? So I just want to ask you some questions. I don't mean to stop you, but
sorry, I'm like on a roll here.
So Commissioner Greenfield wanted to place something on the record.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately have to recuse myself in this matter.
Okay.
And I just want to say that I'm quite familiar with Roland Park Place. My mom was a resident there for some time, and my friend who's with us today, Mr. Kuntz, was the chair of the board, so I've been hearing about Roland Park Place and spent a lot of time there myself.
Excellent. So you're familiar with what we do there?
Yes, although the new development has occurred since then, and I don't know if Commissioner if you had anything you wanted to add.
No.
Okay. So are all of the facilities that are going to be handling the alcohol within the 41st District?
Yes.
And there is the certificate registration?
Yes, and there are copies of both things in the file. I will jump a little further down into the file. There should be a map in your file that identifies the location of Roland Park Place in the 41st Legislative District, as well as a copy of their certificate of aging, certificate of aging, excuse me, the certificate from the Department of Aging.
Okay.
Mr. Stevens, who is here, is going to be responsible for the day-to-day operations of their dining services.
Is he tip certified?
He is. He will be. He is not yet, but he will be, and all their managers will be as well. Although their residents certainly are all of age, they will have a policy of carding anyone who appears to be under 35 years of age.
They may have family members who come.
Indeed, indeed. We hope they're family members. The dining hours of operation generally are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. They offer Sunday brunch as well. We anticipate serving alcoholic beverages primarily from 4:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Monday through Saturday. And it may also be served outside of those times at other special events or other events within the facility.
This license, if you're at dinner, as you might be in a restaurant, and you have a bottle of wine you don't finish, can you take it back with you?
Yes. Okay. We would like the ability to do that as well. So with regard to the requirements for, the statutory requirements for the license, as I mentioned in the file, there is a map showing that we are located in the 41st District and a copy of their certificate from the Department of Aging. All of the dining room and bars will be operated and staffed by Roland Park Place employees. Roland Park Place is a nonprofit organization. Its residents are required to be at least 60 years old. They are, and they have been certified as a tax-exempt organization since 1981. Our individual licensees are all present here today, Ms. Snyder, Ms. Peoples, and Ms. Bees. They're all officers of Roland Park Place, Inc. Ms. Peoples is our Baltimore City resident licensee. She's in the middle here. Her residence actually backs right up to Roland Park Place, so she's proximately located to it as well as being on their board. And she actually, in her past life, was a manager at Roland Park Wines and Liquor, so she has experience in the alcoholic beverage industry. With regard to the criteria that the board's required to consider in approving the license, there is a public need and desire for the license, as demonstrated by the enactment of the legislation in last year's legislative session to create this particular type of license. In that vein, it's not expected to have an impact on other licensees in the area because this is not an establishment that's open to the public to come into. The license is available for the use of residents and their guests, not the general public. And in that vein, it also does provide a uniqueness of services. And as I said, Roland Park Place is the only continuing care retirement community in Baltimore City. And we believe this will have a positive impact on health, safety, welfare, particularly of our residents by offering this additional amenity to our residents. And by not being open to the public, it is unlikely to have any impact at all on anyone else outside of the Roland Park Place community. We're happy to answer any questions that the board has, but we would request that you approve the issuance of this license.
Commissioner, do you have questions?
So Mr. Stevens, he's the only one managing the dining facilities?
He's the director of dining services. There will be managers who work under him.
And then the managers under him will
also be tip certified.
Who sponsored the legislation?
The 41st delegation.
Did you have anything further?
I don't have any further questions.
Anything else, Ms. Ekman? Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the documentary evidence that's been introduced and received during the course of the hearing, the proffers from counsel, and any testimony received, I would vote to approve a new Class B CCRC beer, wine, and liquor continuing care retirement community license under the provisions of 12-1001.1, the new legislation for this facility within the 41st Legislative District, also approving live entertainment and outdoor table service.
I concur, and based on the testimony or the proffer by counsel reviewing the statute, I believe that it has met the criteria, and I also vote to approve the new Class B CCRC beer, wine, and liquor continuing care retirement community license Under alcoholic beverages article, section 12-1001.1, to be located within the 41st district with live entertainment and outdoor table service.
So thank you, and good luck, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, business plan.
We're going to call case number 7 on the docket, Baltimore Crab House, Inc., trading as Baltimore Seafood, 2324-32 Boston Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license here for transfer of ownership. Please come forward.
Counsel?
Mr. Chairman, John Pica, P-I-C-A, on behalf of the applicants.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can I ask your
Mr. Chairman, members of the
clients
board.
to come and raise their right hands, please?
Yes.
Let me swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay, Mr. Pica, what do we have here?
Mr. Chairman, this is an application for transfer. You have several exhibits in front of you with the lease agreement, the current lease agreement, which is a 5-year lease with 2 5-year options. I included a certificate of occupancy for the last tenant just to show that the restaurant is a permitted use. You have a copy of their menu. I have an email chain from Doug Kaufman of the Canton Community Association to show that we've been in touch with the Community Association, and the owner of the building and the operator of the restaurant will meet with the community the first week of April. They're already on their schedule. The witnesses, Ms. Catherine Adams, she's a registered voter in Baltimore City. She's going to be on the license. Themis Smirniudis is one of the owners of the building. Richard Kraus is the other owner of the building. They're the lessors. And Mr. Kit Fong Liang, he's the owner of the restaurant. He also answers to the name Kevin. Mr. Liang is pretty good at English, but just in case he needs some help, Mr. Richard Kraus will assist him with any questions that you have.
So is this, it's in existence now with a different owner or a different licensee?
No, so the owner of La Tolteca was the tenant. La Tolteca vacated the premises on April the 8th, 2018.
Oh, okay.
The board granted a 180-day extension on October 25th.
Oh, you're right.
2018.
Okay.
So we were within the 180-day, so the license, I believe, is still valid. And they intend to do some cosmetic work on the outside and inside the building, some woodwork, and then they will begin operation, assuming he gets a license.
I'm going to be the one in charge of the alcohol operation?
Yes, Mr. Leong, you already have an alcohol awareness training certificate? Yep.
Okay.
And will all the individuals who serve alcohol at Baltimore Seafood also be certified? Yes. Okay.
Okay. And I hope that, I'm sure you and the others will explain our rules and regulations so that they don't run afoul of them.
Correct.
As to who they can purchase from, and being careful about minors and that sort of thing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, with respect to the standard required for transfer, we believe there is public need and desire. It is already restaurant is a permitted use. There's a high density of population in the Canton area. This gives residents of Canton and Fells Point and Highlandtown and anywhere in Baltimore City or the region another opportunity to have dinner at a restaurant. I don't believe it has a negative effect on any of the restaurants in the area. There are 8 restaurants within a 2-mile radius, and this is actually going to replace a restaurant that went out of business. It shares commonality with other family and restaurants and seafood restaurants, but it's a very unique style of cooking, and I'll get to that in a second. I don't believe it will have a negative impact on the community. They will have valet parking, and I just included in those exhibits a copy of the valet parking certificate from the prior tenant that was that's going to be applied for by Mr. Richard Kraus. So he's going to assist the operator with getting valet parking permit, but they intend to have valet parking. I believe.
Difficult to get a valet
I'm sorry?
Is it difficult to get a valet parking?
I don't believe it is. You have to go through the parking authority. You gotta get it to the parking. And they have a certain number of garages and lots that are available for valet parking. And I believe in terms of other necessity, this restaurant will fill a vacant building. It will increase the number of jobs in the Canton area, and it'll provide certain opportunities for social opportunities. So this is a very unique product. Mr. Leong operates several restaurants. He is more active in the restaurants in Manassas, Virginia, Virginia Beach, and Raleigh, North Carolina, but he is a partner in several other restaurants. It's a very neat concept. It's mostly seafood, but you can get a steak or other types of food. But they present each person with a bib and a pair of gloves, and you can get whole crab, kingfish crab.
Very helpful to Commissioner
Lobster, lobster tail, shrimp, crawfish, clams, and mussels.
You see me eat, John.
I have seen you eat.
Sorry. Yeah, I have a question.
May I
Please
continue? Yes.
Please, I'd like you to continue.
Okay. They bring it to you in a bag with different spices and different sauces. You shake it up, you drop it on the table, and you eat. So it's an interesting family concept.
Sounds interesting. Mr. Leong appears to live in New Jersey and has businesses outside the state of Maryland. How does he intend to manage this?
I will get the apartment and remove
Okay, so come
to the microphone. Come to the microphone.
We're on television and being recorded, so we need you to speak up.
I just get the apartment from 2524 Fall Avenue, right on the 2 block down.
So you have an apartment here locally?
Yeah, I
Thank
will
you.
move down here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Did you have any questions?
Asked for the approval of the transfer.
Other than, I saw in your packet, there's an upcoming meeting with the Community Association. Other than that email exchange, any other attempts to speak with them?
Yes. Can you please swear in Mr. Mark Adams?
Sure. Come up and raise your hand, sir, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Adams is our surprise witness. He's married to Catherine Adams.
I'm not dressed for it, but I didn't expect it.
So Mr. Adams put on a message board, and it went out to 8,000 people, and you can share some of the comments that came back.
I put coming soon to Canton in La Tolteca spot, and I did a link to the video, which shows Mr. Leong's restaurant in Newton, Massachusetts. And the responses I got were, Vincent Forbes says, "Is this a dream? I haven't had a good crawfish bowl in years." Stephanie Sandler, "Oh wow, that sounds amazing. When is soon?" Kristen Riedinger, "This is exciting." Edith Pula, "They've got guts to open in Baltimore, but I'll give it a shot." Jeff Hosfield, "I can't wait." Jim Wilner, "Hope they make out okay." Peter Keck says it looks delicious and a lot of fun, but he doesn't like them using plastic, which is a common theme in our community.
So, Mr. Adams, are you a neighbor?
I live on Chester Street with my wife, which is...
Got it, okay. Thank you.
And I've known Mr. Sminutis was my landlord at one time.
So let me ask, there were no negative comments?
No, the only ones where people didn't like the use of plastic.
Okay.
But
well, they'll take that under advisement.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
And also Doug, the guy from the Canton, Doug Kaufman, he put in there that they are coming and the lease is signed, so he's aware of it, and he doesn't seem to have any problem with it. I see him when I walk my dog, so.
And you're a licensee at Muscle Bar?
Yes.
We'll
be in
nothing else
soon.
Just like to add, Mr. Chairman, that the email chain is from Doug Kaufman, who's with the Canton Community Association, and his one comments were, "I've seen the video on YouTube and the idea looks really fun. I look forward to meeting them." So I haven't heard any negative comments or any protests.
But we always encourage our licensees to work with the community organizations, and it makes it easier for you all and keeps you out of our jurisdiction.
No doubt.
So make less conflict. Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits which will be received in evidence, the proffers from counsel, and any testimony received, I'd vote to approve the transfer.
I concur for the same reasons and vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
I vote to approve the transfer.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you, Mr.
Good luck.
Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Pika. See you down here. John. Like to call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, business plan. See you down here.
Mobtown Brewing Company LLC, trading as Mobtown Brewing Company, 4015 Foster Avenue. This is a Class D beer license, an application for a new Class D beer brewery license under Article 2-207, small e, authorizing the board to grant an on-site consumption permit to an applicant that holds a Class 5 brewery license. Please come forward.
Counsel.
Good afternoon, Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicants.
Good afternoon. Gentlemen, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you very much. I have here today, to my right, Mr. David Carpenter, Mr. Noah Chadwick, and Mr. Darren Stimple. Mr. Carpenter and Mr. Stimple are residents of Canton and live very close to the first brewery in Brewers Hill in over 40 years. So we're very excited to, and that's not far from Commissioner Greenfield's house, but I don't think he's a beer guy. So here is their Class 5 manufacturer's license.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I personally am very excited to have a brewery within walking distance. So that's my personal opinion. Mr. Carpenter, are you already alcohol management certified?
No.
Okay, we'll take care of that next week. Monday's already filled, but we'll get him on another day.
How many people are going to be serving alcohol there?
Probably 4 to 5 part-time bartenders. These gentlemen are going to be doing brewing, so they're not going to have a lot of time to sling drinks and managing the business. So about 4 to 5 part-time bartenders, and they will also undergo alcohol management training.
Okay, so it's important that you keep an eye on them, that they follow the rules and regulations. There are occasionally tests, whether they're serving minors and things like that, so you have to be on top of that.
And Brewers Hill, the namesake of the community, is very excited that there will be a brewer on the hill, and they have written a letter in support.
Thank you.
And is there something different about the way you brew than others?
No.
Oh, okay. No specialties or anything?
No, we're going to try to keep our beers varying so that there's always something new when people come in.
They don't use corn syrup. So, all right. There's not a lot to be said. As you know, they're going to be closing earlier than a traditional restaurant or a BD7. They won't be able to serve liquor and things like that. So they're going to be self-distributing. And so we're excited to get them to distribute to some very local bars in the Brewers Hill neighborhood in Canton, so that once they close at 10, that you're still able to enjoy their products. So once again, very excited. This is a great economic addition to the community.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in your application, the proffers from counsel, the exhibits received, and any testimony, I'd vote to approve the new Class D beer brewery license.
I concur for the same reasons and vote to approve the new Class D beer brewery license.
I, too, join my colleagues and vote to approve the new Class D beer brewery license. Good luck.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I call exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, Class 5 manufacturer's license. Applicant Exhibit 2, letter of support from Brewers Hill Neighborhood Association dated 3/19/19.
Marski Bar, 3301 Forster Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. An application to transfer ownership requesting delivery of alcoholic beverages. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the address of 3301 Foster Avenue does appear on the non-conforming zoning list for taverns and must fully comply within 2 years.
Counsel.
Thank you. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant, Andrea Novovieski.
Good afternoon. Ma'am, would you raise your right hand, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we're transferring ownership of an existing license?
Yes. Miss Novovieski went into business with another person about 2 years ago and has bought the other person out so that she's fully going to be owning this bar.
And nothing else changed?
Nothing else has changed whatsoever. She's about to become a customer of Mobtown Brewing, it looks like, because they're only 7 blocks away. You may, you've probably seen her artwork. She's an artist, not in a gallery, not in a museum, but if you've ever watched Veep, House of Cards, or Lincoln, Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, the John Adams documentary, which was awesome on HBO, Hunger Games, Game Changer, the thing about Sarah Palin and with Woody Harrelson in it. She's done it all. She's a scenic painter, and so she just has painted many of the backdrops that you've seen in these movies and television shows. She is a lifelong resident of Baltimore, Fells Point, Canton, knows the neighborhood well. She's an extremely responsible person. She is indeed alcohol management certified. She's already got the real-life training of running this bar. And this bar is less than a block from my house, and it's always been a nice, well-run place.
You've been working there for?
Almost 2 years.
2 years, okay. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, proffers from counsel, and any testimony, I'd vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
I concur for the same reasons and vote to approve the transfer of ownership with delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Vote to approve the transfer of ownership with delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Unanimously.
Thank you.
Good luck, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
No exhibits.
Harbor View Liquors, 547-49 East Fort Avenue. This is a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Konensky representing the applicant.
Could you raise your right hand, please, ma'am?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Mr. Konensky, this is another transfer of ownership?
This is a transfer of ownership, existing place. It's been there for a good while. I think I did the last couple transfers on this since they've been there. The applicant in this case has prior experience. He worked in the liquor industry up in New York, and the last year or so has been working. Her husband has a liquor store. She's done everything from soup to nuts, ordering, checking people. She understands the check for age of majority. She will take the alcohol awareness course. We were going to get her to take it. However, she was interrupted by delivering a baby on February 18th, so we're getting her back in the process. There'll be no changes. She'll have about 3 or 4 employees, which she'll get most of them certified, keep the same hours of operation.
Congratulations, boy or girl?
It was a boy. She says 10 pounds. Her husband says, what does he say, 7? Yeah. So you were there, right? Okay.
I trust you on that issue.
10-pounder.
Yeah.
So I take it she's managing the day-to-day?
Yeah. I'm sorry. You had
his name Melvin, at least?
Middle name.
Could be. You never know.
Anything further? No. Okay, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the application, proffers from counsel, and any testimony received, I'd vote to approve the transfer.
I concur and vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
I vote to approve the transfer.
Good luck, ma'am.
Good luck.
And the change of name, right?
No exhibits for the record. You're welcome.
Where are we? Are we ready?
I didn't see it that way.
I know.
You guys have a dirty mind.
Are we ready, Bryce? Gee whiz. 144 Light Street, Class D, beer and wine license, an application to transfer ownership. Please come forward.
We're having fun now, aren't we? All right. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the applicant.
Good afternoon. Would you folks raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Fogelman, this is also a transfer?
Yes, it is. Thank you. That's your name, right? Okay. All right. I am joined today by the applicant, Natawan Kumjayarat, and her husband, Pornchai Rung Raj Charankit. I'm sorry. And his nickname is Moo, and so that's the name I will use for him as I pass the spelling of his name to the court reporter.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Kumjayarat and her husband own Lazy Fish Sushi in Frederick, Maryland. It's a very popular destination downtown Frederick. He is on that liquor license. So Ms. Kumjayarat is going to be in the business here in Federal Hill, serving sushi. Johanna Stenberg is just a city resident. She has served on a number of licenses in the past. They don't intend to do anything differently than they've done in Frederick County. And Frederick County has some pretty, I practice out there now, it's got some pretty tough laws compared to Baltimore City. For example, no bartenders are ever allowed to consume alcohol on duty or they will get fined and suspended, for example. And in addition, every single employee who's ever working at the bar in Frederick County has to be alcohol certified. So you'll see like 20 certificates on the wall. So coming from the fire there, I think that they will be excellent licensees here in Baltimore City.
Is this operation in business now?
No, they purchased the license and the building itself. It was, I have the license somewhere. It was once called,
but it wasn't a sushi place.
No, it was not. It was a restaurant, though. In Bloom, that's right. It was called In Bloom, and it was supposed to be a fresh local food.
And who will handle the alcohol in this?
Ms. Kumjayarat will be handling
I'm
it.
sorry, was she tip certified?
Are you alcohol certified?
Okay.
You used to be? Okay, well, we'll get you renewed for 3 years. Yeah.
So how many people will be working there?
They anticipate having probably 10 part-time wait staff, so there will probably be at least 7 people handling alcohol on any given week, and they'll be managed and trained by Ms. Kumjayarat.
And, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make clear, so the licensee at Cafe Philly was the Ms.
Stenberg.
Stenberg.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I just want to make sure. All right.
Anything further?
Any issues at Lazy Fish?
Not at all.
We never have any problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then on the basis of the materials contained in your application, the proffers from counsel, and testimony received, I vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
I concur for the same reasons and vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
I vote to approve the transfer of ownership.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you all. Good to see you.
No exhibits.
JP Partners, Inc., trading as Get It In 2112 Fleet Street. This is a Class Beer 1 and liquor license and application to transfer ownership, requesting live entertainment and outdoor table service. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanansky representing the applicant in the case.
And could I ask the folks behind you and next to you to raise your right hands, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Looks like the front page is missing.
I have with me the applicant in the case, Ms. Ida Mae Blackman. She is alcohol certified. When you ask the question, I'll give you a copy of her certificate of completion. She has worked in various establishments. Actually, she's been working here since September when they first took over the place. And along with that, I'm going to give you a copy of the menu that they're using there now. And this menu was a menu that she got from her mama, and her mom worked at a Chesapeake restaurant, and a lot of the dishes on there are, that she inherited from her mom. She's met along with her son with the Fells Prospect Association, which is the association of that area. You should have in your package a letter of approval from Fells Prospect.
You do.
I've got another one if you don't have it.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. I saw some of the letters that were in there. The type of entertainment they're talking about is basically having a DJ or some karaoke a couple times a month. The zoning permits the live entertainment. It's been there for a long time. This property itself has an unusual history behind it. It used to have a brewery there. There was a tunnel that went underneath the street. I don't know whether it was during bootlegging times or not, but they were there. They're going to have probably 3 or 4 employees. It's going to be open from the evening, 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now on.
And will all the employees be certified?
All will be certified so that we can make sure there won't be any problems.
And how many outdoor tables will there be?
Probably two tops, maybe a 4-top, but it's just the place doesn't lend it. Mr. Greenfeld probably has been by there and seen it. It's right on the corner of the alley there.
Okay.
So so you're familiar, Mr. Kudinski, with a couple letters of opposition from community. It looks like one is nearby the establishment and another is from the Canton Community Association.
So I don't know what the Canton Community Association is talking about. They somehow they seem to feel there's some place that's been continuously open. It hadn't had any problems. I have a certificate of occupancy for it indicating that it's continued to use as a tavern and restaurant and live entertainment and their table service. So that they might be talking about a different place. Can't be this place. You know where it is, right? It's right up the street from Kissling's. It's been there forever.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Okay, so but one of the themes in both letters is the live entertainment and the concern about noise and distractions and disruption. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, well, they have it permitted, and it's on the license now. They want to just have some limited live entertainment with regard maybe a DJ or, something like a karaoke. I mean, they're not talking about a band. If you've been in there, the place just isn't that big. It's probably a 14-seat bar with maybe 5 or 6 tables in the first level. Then you walk up and there's a dining room in the back that probably has another 8 or 10 tables, probably 4 tops.
And have you reached out to the Canton community? Have you been in touch with them?
They're not the community association.
Oh, they're not.
Here, Fells Prospect is, so,
I see. Yeah. And with respect to the other letter of opposition next door, did you see that?
Yeah, about most of that had to do with live entertainment, and I've talked to Ms. Blackman. She indicates that she will be talking to them. She's been there since September, and they've had some dialogue. They haven't had any problems on it. I guess they were afraid it would put some rock and roll band in there or something, but that's not what they're going to do.
Well, this letter was, in fairness, to your point, I think, the letter was received November 28th of 18, so I don't know if there's been conversations since then.
Well, and then if you see the letter after that from Fells Prospect was on January 17th where they had those meetings.
Okay, I think we encourage you to continue to speak with them. If there's people ask you to turn things down or whatever, and you work with them, it's better than coming back here on complaints and having difficulties, but.
Forewarned is forearmed. Forewarned is forearmed.
Exactly.
Is that what it is?
Do you have any questions?
No questions.
You?
No.
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the application, the exhibits which have been introduced and received the proffers from council and testimony, I would vote to approve a transfer of ownership with live entertainment and outdoor table service.
All right, thank you.
I concur and vote to approve transfer of ownership with live entertainment and outdoor table service.
I vote to approve the transfer of ownership with live entertainment and outdoor table service and underscore the point, please work with your neighbors and the community. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck.
Like Husband's for the record. Board Exhibit 1, letter of support for Fells Prospect Community Association dated 1/17/19, letter in opposition from Kent Community Association.
Thank you.
Exhibit number 3, letter in opposition from community dated 11/25/2018. Applicant menu.
Page is that our docket?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until Thursday, April the 11th, 2019, 10:30 a.m.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I found 2 tickets to the Apex movie, in case anybody's interested.
It looks lovely.